My name is Conor McGregor and I live in Lucan. I'm a professional MMA fighter with a record of 4-1. I'm an up-and-coming fighter, and without a doubt you will see me on the UFC in the near future, without a doubt.
This is why everyone's been talking about Conor McGregor. It's all over! Conor McGregor!
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? If this was a different time, I would invade his favela on horseback and kill anyone that was not fit to whoop. But we are in a new time, so I'll whoop his ass in July.
The reigning, defending, 155-pound champion of the UFC, the notorious Conor McGregor!
That's what a true champion does. Much respect. You came with it. You know what I mean? I gotta give respect to that. Instantly had a knack for it, and I really loved it. It's like an addiction for me. It's all I do. I train twice a day. That's all I think about. I don't want to do anything else. It's as simple as that.
All the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
Thomas gave it to Sundin. They go up the net. Sundin scores! That's Sundin. Bullet shot.
Mella, lovely cushion header. Bergero! You beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely down the sideline. Can they catch him? Anything's possible!
Have you seen anything like that?
There's a term in the tech and startup industry called a disruptor, and that refers to a product or service that enters an existing marketplace and really throws a wrench into the traditional methods and innovates how the industry works. Think of what Uber or Lyft did to cab drivers, or crowdsourcing deliveries, or something just as simple as the internet in terms of advertising. A disruptor fundamentally changes how a given market operates. Conor McGregor is a disruptor. Everything he dips his toes into, he shakes the place up, he goes after the giants, and carves out a new space for himself into something that has already seemed to be so jam-packed full already.
Where do you live?
My name is Conor McGregor and I live in Lucan.
And what's your status, or what's your profession?
I'm a professional MMA fighter with a record of 4-1. I'm an up-and-coming fighter, and without a doubt you will see me on the UFC in the near future, without a doubt.
How long have you been fighting?
Well, I've been boxing pretty much all my life. I started MMA around 2 or 3 years ago, and about 2 years ago I'd say, and I instantly had a knack for it, and I really loved it. It's like an addiction for me. It's all I do. I train twice a day. That's all I think about. I don't want to do anything else. It's as simple as that.
Conor McGregor really came from the bottom, and not Drake's version of the bottom either. Conor says before MMA he got a taste of a plumbing apprenticeship with his father, and after one day he left, he couldn't take it anymore, and he really never looked back.
Describe your most memorable bad day as a plumber.
My God, my most memorable bad day as a plumber. I mean, it just was not a life for me. The whole experience was heavy work. You know, I'd wake up at like 5:30 in the morning. I'd walk about a half an hour hike uphill out onto a motorway. I'd stand out onto the motorway with his cars ripping by full speed, and I'd have to wait for this country guy, a redneck you would call him, would pull in, and I'd have to bunk into the back of his car, and we'd drive 2 hours in the traffic all the way to the site, and then you're on the cold building site and you're looking around with all these old people and their back is up and everyone's in a bad way. It was just, and I'm the young kid, so I'm getting ordered to do this and ordered to do that, and it was just a it was just a rough time for me, and I knew that I did not want to pursue this life. Why do this? Why walk to the grave? You know what I mean? This is not what life is meant to be. So I left and I quit, and I went home and I told my father, I said, there's not a hope in hell you're going to ever get me back on that building site again. And he essentially said, we'll see about that. And we had many fights where he tried to get me back onto the building site, but I did not. Although I may have lost the fights we had, but essentially I won because I did not go back to the building site.
One of the most impressive things about Conor is how he had the drive right from the start. And if you look at his early interviews before even the UFC, he was very confident in his ability that he would get to the big show, that he would be soon fighting in the UFC. If you go back and look at his record also, there's a couple early hiccups, yeah, but even his first 10 wins were all by knockouts. And only 2 of them were outside of the first round, and even those 2 are really early in the second round. There was a span of almost 5 years where Conor not only didn't lose, but he didn't even come in the proximity of losing. He was on an 8-fight win streak before the UFC, and already had won 2 division belts in 2 different divisions in Cage Warriors. And by the time he actually started fighting in the UFC, that's where the show really started.
3 rounds in the UFC featherweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a mixed martial artist holding a professional record, 12 wins, 2 losses. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing in at 145 pounds, 65.8 kilos. Fighting out of Dublin, Ireland, the notorious Conor McGregor.
He clipped him on the way in. He can find your chin from anywhere. Forwards, he can fight going backwards. Look at that uppercut. Now, Mark is the chart. This is why everyone's been talking about Conor McGregor. All over. Ultra impressive UFC debut. That is exactly why he's so dangerous, Mike.
Conor beat Holloway, Conor beat Poirier, he beat Dennis Seaver. And things were mainly a walk in the park until he really got challenged for the first time by Chad Money Mendez. But this is where we started to see Conor's personality really explode onto a level we've never seen before in the sport.
And I'm going to slap the face off him, and that's it.
Yesterday, Conor was talking about some tweets that you sent to Jose Aldo, and he said
pussy move, yeah? That was a pussy move. Little
You're
coward.
a pussy, dude.
Trying to be friendly. You're trying to be little friends with him. Oh, please, can I have your fans? It's a bitch move, yeah? It's what a man does when he's close to death. You know not. His facial structure will be rearranged after the fight. He's a novice in my eyes. He's a white belt on the mat. He has no... In the grappling exchanges, he will learn as well, and then panic will set in, and then he will cower like a little girl and begin his run.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all.
And when you talk about disruptors, things were at a point where literally anything Conor put out on social media was not just big, it was huge. Yes, there were already people like Bieber and the Kardashians and Selena Gomez, but not for sports, and no one had ever been that effective in generating buzz and content just by tweeting a photo like Conor was. Conor could have tweeted out a bowl of cereal, and that bowl of cereal would be the most talked about thing for the next 2 days. What kind of cereal, what kind of milk, what percentage of milk, does he pour the milk in first or the cereal? I mean, it was that, it was to that level of ridiculousness. After beating Chad Mendes, things started to get a bit insane with Conor, in the sense that in his mind, he was already the king of everything. Now, Aldo had already pulled out of so many fights already, including the first one he had scheduled with Conor, which led to Chad Mendes, and I think Conor was really able to expose that.
Conor, this is Jose Aldo. He's ranked #1 in the world. Hasn't lost in 10 years, but this is his 5th world title fight that he has pulled out of. I think it's only right that they finally, essentially, are stripping him. I know that's not the right term, but they're making this for the interim championship. That's the right call, in my opinion.
I don't know if we've ever seen, or if we ever will see again in MMA, someone who gets in the head of somebody so well and then backs it up so swiftly as Conor did to Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo is one of the most well-respected fighters ever. Great jiu-jitsu, great striking, great everything, and because of that he wasn't used to being so disrespected. And combine the language barrier with Aldo's overall pretty quiet and calm demeanor, this all actually worked great to Conor's advantage. So this is where McGregor really started ranting and raving and screaming like a guy who just cut someone's head off. When Conor took Aldo's belt and held it in the air, I think that was a point where everybody noticed actually how pissed off Aldo actually was by Conor's actions. Even touching him on a morning show interview or something like that. He felt so disrespected, and everybody could tell. And then when they finally got in the octagon, everything had accumulated to this point, and the rest is history.
The most highly anticipated featherweight fight of all time. Here we go!
Conor relaxed and smiling.
Oh! Just slapped him like that! Conor McGregor is the new UFC featherweight champion of the world!
Oh, unbelievable! The first punch he threw slept him.
McGregor's MO is to keep rising, keep going up. So naturally or unnaturally, he went up to welterweight after Nate Diaz called him out. Now you could argue that the Diazes were the original McGregors. Nate had just slapped around Michael Johnson, giving probably his best performance of his career up to that point. And then went live on TV after in the interview, swearing up a storm and calling out Conor, and essentially blaming him for jacking his style. Which to an extent, to Nate's credit, he did. But where the Diazes failed to cooperate in a corporate sense, Conor was able to turn that same attitude and mold it into a commercially viable success for the UFC. That's what the difference really was. And what that meant was Diaz and McGregor would start disrupting the sports world in the most uncensored way we've probably ever seen.
Fuck that! Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker! I'm gonna fight your fucking ass! You know what's the real fight, what's the real money fight is me, not these clowns that you already punked at the press conference. Don't no one want to see that, you know you beat them already. That's the easy fight. You want that real shit right here. Hey, and unfortunately you can't talk like that on Fox. He's like a little cholo gangster from the hood. But at the same time he coaches kids jiu-jitsu on a Sunday morning and goes on bike rides with the elderly. He makes gun signs with the right hand and animal balloons with the left hand.
Entering the octagon. Ready. Conor McGregor's career. For a bunch of reasons. First of all, what about a guy who submitted Jim Miller? A guy who submitted Kurt Pellegrino. Notorious Conor McGregor! Hard, Joe. Round one in the books. Round two. Eye of Diaz. Conor, good left. Advanced training for the triathlon. Clinch. And Conor. Look out for the takedown. He couldn't do it. He's Conor trying to get out of it. Diaz gets the out. My goodness. He's got the chance. Diaz.
MMA is more raw than boxing in a fighting sense, and it's more real than WWE. So what we got was a very real reaction from two people who were just being themselves and seemed to really not like each other. In the end, there was a lot of shock and awe, and McGregor-Diaz 2, the follow-up, the rematch, I think is still one of the best UFC fights of all time, and probably will be for a very, very long time. There were no warm-up fights for Conor in boxing. There was no meddling people he fought, no on-the-rise people he fought. He didn't even just go for the big cheese. Conor went for the biggest fucking 100-pound wheel of Parmesan cheese you only see in those documentaries about Italian cheese factories. Now, let's be real here. Boxing will always have its place in terms of being up there, but there aren't the A-listers and the stars coming out from boxing that there used to be. And what Conor and Floyd did really sparked something. They really did something special that probably really helped boxing out in the long run. From the UFC Embedded to the Showtime behind the scenes specials that everyone actually wanted to see. And let's not forget about the World Tour press conferences. They had the West Coast, East Coast, Canada, UK. It was crazy. Now, I went to one of those, and believe it or not, it was really fun. Easily the most exciting non-event that I can think of in recent years. Here you have Conor with no pro boxing experience selling us a fight just based on his image and reputation alone in a completely different sport. And it drew thousands upon thousands of people into stadiums just to hear them trash talk. Nothing seemingly prepared, just no questions from people, just trash talking back and forth, and it worked out completely and worked for a ton of money.
We can do better than that! When I count to 3, screaming to scream, fuck the Mayweathers! 1, 2, 3, fuck the Mayweathers!
Counter left uppercut. That left uppercut never landed again after that one. Mayweather made the adjustments. This jab was working very well up until the 4th round, and then we start seeing Mayweather right after the 4th start taking over. He keeps Conor on his heels, keeps the pressure, he starts using the counters, and is able to start hitting Conor over and over with big right hands. As the fight continues, Conor's backing up the whole time on the ropes more and more, not landing as many shots, and Floyd Mayweather's landing the heavier shots round per round.
They considered the best. Conor McGregor was in there giving his best, but at the second half of the fight, it was all Floyd, money, Mayweather.
For the fight itself, I think Conor did way more and way better than what people expected. Sure, there were a few hiccups, and who knows, maybe Floyd sold it a bit, but if his next fight that ended in the 1st round was any indication, Floyd still wanted to make sure he won, and he wasn't willing to make himself look bad even for a second to do so. And by most quantifiable measurements, especially in terms of pay-per-view buys, besides winning, it has to be seen as a massive success for McGregor and for everyone else commercially involved. So how long did Conor McGregor wait to move on to his next venture? Did he wait a few weeks? Did he wait till his head was clear? No. Conor McGregor waited exactly 0.0 seconds. At the post-fight press conference, Conor McGregor walked out with and drank his next business venture. Now you see in the background, there was a couple models from Corona. Corona probably wasn't too happy about this, even though that people were really remarking on the women there for their ability to stand there and stare off into the distance for a long time. But Conor brought out and introduced his next venture, which was Proper 12 whiskey.
I want to give this to the world as a gift from myself and from Ireland. This is who I am. I am an Irishman, a true Irishman, proper Irish whiskey, proper 12, it's in the name.
But could Conor McGregor just launch a whiskey? Oh no, of course not. Conor McGregor once again had to go for the big dogs, in fact the biggest dogs from his own country, the Jameson brothers. He had an entire crowd of people, for some reason, cursing out the Jamesons.
I love it, and I don't give a bollocks what anyone says. I'm not even trying to sell it. Just have a sip of it. Just take a bottle with you and enjoy yourself. Now, not you, the smell of you. Keep him out of here. When I count to 3, I want everyone in this building to scream at the top of their lungs, the Jameson brothers. 1, 2, 3. The Jameson brothers. Yes.
McGregor versus Khabib was one of the most vicious and most personal lead-ups to any fight ever.
Trust me, his own countrymen, his own people that he's turned his back on, they want to see him gone too, and I am going to do it in the name of the Russian people.
Conor sure had a hell of a way of returning to the sport after 2 years, and he really saw Khabib as an inverse of him, dishonorable, a snake, a rat, he said, going after his heritage, his religion, said his countrymen didn't even like him. It was really personal. And if you think about it, Conor's a loud Irishman. His personality couldn't be any different, couldn't be any more opposite from a quiet, collected, humble Muslim Russian. Now Conor has had plenty of memorable and memeable moments. There's the
"Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?"
the double champ rant.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
There's the noodle arm thing, and there's even just videos of Conor screaming over and over again.
For Mr. McGregor!
For McGregor!
Mr. McGregor!
But whether it was just planned, staged, or a fit of rage because of what happened to Artem Lobov, and that story is that Khabib's people cornered Conor's fighting, or his training partner Artem, and threatened him. Whether it was any of that, the bus attack thing, where Conor throws a dolly through a bus with a bunch of UFC fighters, possibly affecting people's career, that just took things to a whole new level. The reality here is Conor is in fact a human. He lost that fight fair and square. The fight that people have been saying he was avoiding for years for that very reason, but he is in fact human, and we all know he is in fact beatable. Yes, he lost to Nate Diaz, but that was clearly him thinking he could go in and do whatever he wants. He was definitely prepared for this fight, and he still lost. Every time Conor McGregor does something, though, he disrupts, he creates buzz and excitement, he creates content for people to make money off of, he creates revenue no matter what he does. It all starts over. Every time, it all starts all over again, as if he's never lost a fight, as if he's never been in trouble with the law, as if he's never done anything wrong. Conor McGregor creates a brand new feeling every single time he steps out and does something new. He's a master at branding, he's a master at marketing himself, and he creates not just buzz, he creates income for people all around him. Why does he do it though? Is it selfish reasons? Is it just for fame? Is it just for money? Why does Conor McGregor disrupt so much?
Travel, like I said, post-fight, that stands to me, Gareth. I'd never ever forget that. I'm grateful for every single person that's been supporting me on this journey. The real check. Now it's the real check. The rest aren't real checks. This is the one where I can do what I've been dreaming of doing. Giving back to the people who have given so much to me. That is why the emotion came out of me. In my home, like many other homes in Ireland, the real stress and the real fights come from the mortgage, come from this stress of home. A lot of people are getting evicted from their homes around here. So that's something that I've grew up with. That was a big stress in my family. It caused a lot of stress, so I just wanted to give it back and help out and just do that. My mother and father are still young. Now they have their feet up, they can relax, they are in a new place, so it's good. That's something I always dreamed of. I always visualized what giving would feel like, giving to people who have given to me, what that would feel like. I always dreamed of just showing up one day and be like, here.